Welcome to Kim Talks Resilience, where we share stories of insight and inspiration in life, love, and business with resilient women from around the world. Speaking with authors, entrepreneurs, founders, and coaches to learn their strategies for a more resilient life so we can all build the life we love. I'm your host, Kim Hayden.
Dr. Annie White is the author of The Calm Code, Transform Your Mind and Change Your Life. She developed a revolutionary step-by-step method to minimize stress and maximize happiness based on the science of neuroplasticity. So this is going to be a great conversation because anything based in science, I love anything around stats or give me something I can chew on. And this is going to be a great subject. Oh, wait, here's my producer. How are we doing?
Just make sure as many apps are closed.
Okay, awesome.
Check your mic.
I'm closed out. I'm good. Excellent. I've had, we have work going on in our communications. So basically what's happening is I'm not getting enough bandwidth coming in. I think I'm basically sucking up the entire neighborhood's bandwidth. But it's for a good cause. It's for a good cause. So, Dr. Annie, first, you know what we like to do here? We like to get a little bit of kind of that pre-frame as to who you are, because it helps us understand better why you do what you do. How's that sound?
It sounds great.
Awesome. I'm going to step out, give you full screen, take it away. Give us a little bit of who is Dr. Annie?
That's a big question. And I like that question. Although, if you put that to someone, it's sort of intimidating because it's like, oh my gosh, how do I encompass who I am in a few sentences? But I think one of the most important things that I am a voracious learner and a voracious doer. And I, to this point, haven't given up. I've owned many different businesses. And although every single one, I will be completely honest, was difficult to start because when you start a business, it's hard to get going. And I think that's why so many fail is because people stop just when it's about to take off. They just give up. And I haven't. So I think that's one reason that I've been able to do multiple different businesses and avenues. And voracious learner is I always ask why. I want to know why. I want to get to the root of things. I want to get to, when we talk about stress or we talk about happiness, we talk about all of these things. I wanted to know, why do we get so stressed? I would see patients in my office all the time, and I just knew that if we didn't handle their high stress, they would never be truly happy or healthy. So I did 10 years of research on the science of the brain because that's where things are going on, isn't it? It's not the traffic jam or the, mother-in-law or your partner or your kids being naughty. It's your mind. It's how you react to that stress. So once I figured that out, I stayed with that nugget. And until I reached a low point in my life, I didn't know how well my tools that I discovered worked. And we can talk about that maybe later. But I think those are the ways that I would describe me. Also, that I came to this earth to help people. For better or for worse, really. But that's my goal. It's always been my goal with anything I've ever done.
Well, they say the mother of invention is necessity, right?
Mhm.
And that is, it's funny because we just finished an article for our Resilient Women magazine, and it was because the month of March is Women's Month. We decided to go down the rabbit hole and see what women have invented. So a man built the car, but a woman put a heater in it. A woman put windshield wipers on it. A man built, the 6 and 7 story buildings, and a woman put a fire escape on it. A man built a big steamliner, and a woman put a lifeboat on it. It's really interesting because when you just mentioned something that I really want people to keep in mind, happy is more productive. And we are better when we have 1% of 100 people working with us, right? 1% of their efforts of 100 people. So you have 100% effort, because not every day is a great day.
Well,
And
it's not going to be because we're human, aren't we?
yep,
And stress actually um, hurts our prefrontal cortex, which, if we're talking about business, that's our decision making. That's our executive function, right?
yeah,
So if you're stressed versus happy, and you're never going to be all one or the other. I'm not saying anybody's going to go live in nothing ever bothers me land, because that's not a place, and we're all human, right? But but you're right. If you are geared to be more happy, then when those stressful events hit you, you interpret them in a more positive way and you react differently.
absolutely, absolutely. So you're here to help, and you've done many businesses. I do want to comment on that real quick. As a lifelong entrepreneur,
Yeah.
I have not received a paycheck since I was 28 years of age, and let's just say that was a really long time ago, folks. So I understand those days where you go, I don't know if I can get out of bed, because I'm not seeing any difference. My
Yeah.
bank account is empty. I don't know how I'm going to make it go for the next week or the next 2 weeks. But it does take a passion and drive. And you know what? I do think we're actually in a new era where it's going to encourage those who want to create. So let's go into what you do. I want to unpack this, because anything that's based on science and the brain fascinates me.
I know. It's never a boring subject, which is kind of fun. But neuroplasticity states that every thought, action, and emotion trains your mind along those pathways or circuits in your brain. So when we go through things like a pandemic, right? Because you were mentioning this at the beginning of the podcast, and I like this because it's an important thing to talk about because it affected everyone. So
Everyone.
right? And every stressful thought that we had, every worried thought, and we couldn't avoid it because for a good period of time, we wondered if we would get sick and die or someone we love would get sick and die. And that was real, and those thoughts were coming at us all the time through all different sources. But every time that was happening, we were wiring our minds to be more stressed and more negative. And stress and negativity always go hand in hand because the stress response triggers us to think about worst case scenarios so we can survive if a bear is chasing us. But when it's for everyday things, it's wiring our mind. It is strengthening those pathways in our mind so that after a period like a pandemic, we are really quick to worry about things that wouldn't have maybe worried us before. Little things set us off. We're maybe more negative than we used to be, and we don't really know why. And it's not like we're negative all the time, but our thoughts, we can be geared more negatively.
Well, and I think this is a very real thing. Whether or not you believe the pandemic was real, or whether or not you believe in vaccine, whether or not you believe in any of these things, that is all secondary
Yeah.
to the fact that the world went into this fear mode. Fear, uncertainty, and no end in sight is actually the definition of dysregulation. And when you have anything that's dysregulated, it goes out of whack, it goes out of sync, and it does not come back right away. And we're seeing this in fallout in schools. We're seeing this in fallout in marriages. I mean, we're seeing this, unfortunately, in the United States, just in the number of dysregulated individuals inciting crime and shootings. Like, this is a very real thing. So leaning into things like the true foundational sciences underneath the calm code, and understanding this at an individual level, because as individuals, we're like that cellular level within society, right?
Yeah.
We're that base level. So I want to walk in, I want to go through how you're applying all of this today. What are you doing today with this information and with your business?
Well, what I'm doing at this point, or what I did was, and I might have to roll back just a little bit because the reason that the reason that I came to all of this and I wanted to put it into book form is because once I saw how well it worked for me, and I can get into in a minute why I needed it so much, and I'm going to reveal that to you, even though it's a bit embarrassing to me because I was supposed to be, sort of an expert on this stuff. I'd been studying it for over a decade, and I got to a point where I really needed it. And if you want me to get into that right now, I will, because I think to bring us to a point of incitement or any,
Absolutely.
right,
It's
is
your
that
floor. Yes, please. It's
all right?
yes,
And
absolutely.
I'm not gonna cry, but I might cry. Okay, so I went through a really stressful couple of years. We moved, and moving is top five. Moved into a house with mold in it, which, that's never a lot of fun. My dad got really, really, really sick and eventually passed away. I lost a business that I had been building for over 10 years. And through all of this, Kim, I could not see the forest through the trees. I was so enmeshed in the stress, in all of the negativity, in all of the things that were going on. I couldn't see what it was doing to me until one day my husband had enough. I had transformed my mind with every stressed and worried thought into an anxious, irritable, very sad, very negative mess. I just wasn't myself anymore. And I had one last episode where I just bit his head off for absolutely no reason. And he just said, Annie, I can't do this anymore with you. And he walked out the door. And I was on my living room floor, sobbing. And then it hit me that not only did I feel like a failure because my marriage was falling apart and it was my fault, but it was also that I didn't follow my own advice that I had been giving people for a long time. And it wasn't until then that I actually used the tools that I had been using and developing with my patients for so long. And I say it's embarrassing to talk about that because and this is also a reason I wasn't as quick to catch on to it, because I was the one who was supposed to know this stuff. I was the one who was supposed to have this figured out. And I so didn't. I so didn't have it figured out. I was just so human, and it just all came down on me. And this was before the pandemic. So sorry to cry on your show. But I started using the tools that I had been developing, and it took about 6 weeks to really see some good progress with them because they're natural. And but it helped me kind of explain to my husband how I got to that point and what I was trying to do to get myself back again, because I didn't want to live like that either. And I was, I had been giving these tools to patients for a long time, but I was probably in a worse spot than most of them at the time that I did. But once I saw how well it worked, it became just my passion to get it into the hands of people who need it, because I saw what it did and I saw how much it helped me. And my husband is now back. So that's
Oh,
a good.
I was sitting here going, okay, so you applied this and you opened up so we just had Valentine's yesterday. Tell me, where's your relationship today?
We're solid and we're good. Nothing is ever, ever, ever perfect. So I never want to give, I think perfect people are boring, and B, they don't exist. So do we have fights? Of course we have fights. We're human, but we're a really good team and we communicate well. And we always say that we like Valentine's Day, but if we're going to depend on Valentine's Day to feel loved, then we got some work to do on
Yeah,
our relationship. We
yeah,
took my
we
mom
don't.
out to dinner. Um,
We IKEA, I guess. I just found out this totally off topic, folks, but just so you know what I'll be doing next Valentine's. So we don't ever do Valentine's Day because I like the day after Valentine's when everything's on sale.
yeah.
But I found out IKEA does this Valentine's dinner every year. And I'm sitting, yes,
Oh my God,
I'm
I
going,
didn't know that.
I am so, you guys have an IKEA in St. Louis?
We do.
I think that's what I'm gonna do next year. It's
You
cheap
go
and
after
it's
meatballs?
quirky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
It's
cool.
like it's like $30 a person or $25 a person or something like that. It's not hugely expensive. And
Yeah.
I'm going, if you're building a relationship, we're better go that maybe I'll get a free Allen key with it. I don't know. So
I love that.
so let's talk a little bit about your business and what you're doing now.
Okay,
So
so
we
yeah,
yeah, tell me who your avatar is. Tell me who you're working with. What are they how are they being served through this?
I'm working with it's mostly women at this point, and it's probably because I understand women and how, but it's women who are feeling anxious, are feeling depressed, irritable, um, and not like themselves, highly stressed, and want to change it. So the book is where I'm working with most people right this moment. I'm working on programs for it, but I wanted to get it into a really accessible, inexpensive unit that people could use and refer back to all the time. And that's mainly where I've been focusing. So I've been trying to get the word out through radio and TV and wonderful podcasts like you have, just to let people know that there's help and there's answers, and that it's there for them, and I'm there for them.
So okay, so walk me through this. Uh, What is triggering them? Like where so when we're talking about the kind of that resetting of the mind and the space and everything's still crazy in the world around us,
Mhm.
right? We have to find the calm within the storm, right? What are some of the things that you're seeing that are um, that your clients are finding are the triggers or the indicators that they need to align with somebody to speak with? They need to get a sounding board or somebody to work with.
Yeah, or even just tools to help them, because that's where
Exactly.
I'm. So they're more negative than they used to be, and they don't like that. They're irritable with people. They're quick to react, and then they regret those reactions, or they're feeling anxious or highly stressed, and that's never fun either. If something comes into your consciousness and you're automatically worrying and spinning out about it, instead of thinking and coming up with some creative solutions, then you know that your mind needs to be trained to be more calm, because what happens is the brain goes with the path of least resistance. And if you have built up those worried and stressed paths in your mind to the point that they're dominating, and mine were completely dominating, so I get it, then you don't have much of a choice in that matter. When these things come up for you, you sail down those paths before you even know what's happening. And people know what I'm talking about if they've experienced this. If smaller things are setting you off, and if you'd like more balance and more control, then this is the way to do it. And the reason I say you need a step by step method is you have to build those pathways, the calm and the happy pathways in your mind. So then you have more balance and you have a more of a fighting chance when stress comes up. You can respond differently.
Grabbing a cover of your book right now because I want to make sure that I can actually share that. Um, it's we it's I find it fascinating that so many of us walk around. I think we've been fooled by the social media highlight reel.
Yeah.
And we believe we're the only ones in this space struggling.
And the reality is that girl who or that man or whoever who just posted that reel probably was crying last Thursday. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, you're right. There are these images of people just living perfect lives, but perfect doesn't exist.
Yeah. Actually, the definition of perfect, everybody take a look. I have said this before on many of my podcasts, and if you have not heard it, go look it up. You don't have to take my word. but the definition of perfect is complete, nowhere left to go, nowhere else to go. The only day you should be perfect is the day you hit the grave.
Hopefully.
Everything else is a progress.
Yeah.
Everything else is a progress. It's supposed to be messy. It's supposed to feel like, oh, well, I should have done that more, or I should have done that over there, because that gives us opportunity for progress.
Yeah, and some people say, Annie, are you saying I should never have negative emotions? And no, negative emotions are our friend. They're our guideposts. They tell us when something's off, right? They tell us if somebody's invading our boundaries. They tell us if we should be angry about things sometimes, because not everyone in the world is going to treat us exactly the way that we want to. And that's just a small example, but it's those are useful for
Yeah.
us.
And if you don't have those, you can't appreciate it, the upside, right? You can't appreciate when things are going well. I'd like to, so you have these set of actions, you have everything. What I'd like to know is, kind of, how do you start your morning? How do you start your day? I mean, all of us put our pants on the same way, one leg at a time. But I want to know, so we know that you went through this very traumatic time. And actually, what year was that, if you don't mind me asking?
That was it was just before the pandemic hit.
So it was a
So
precursor to what,
it was 19.
yeah. So basically, what you went through in 2019, the entire bloody world went through,
Yeah,
right? In the sense,
afterward.
in a sense, because we may not have lost a parent, but we had a fear for our parents. We had, there was all this uncertainty, because it did touch everybody. And, people, it is a very real thing when these impact. And some people are still in the midst of it. Like their
Of
head is
course.
still there. What are some of the strategies? If you could give us one
Yes.
strategy that you implement, walk us through it, that
I'd
you implement
love to
every
give you
day.
2 if you want them, but, so
Absolutely.
you
I'm
made
into this over.
yeah, you made a really good comment about mornings. And mornings can be really, really tough when you're stressed out, because the first thoughts of the day are dreading what's ahead, because we are in that worry pattern. So, what I say is that before you even get out of bed, you set a timer. And when you first start this, you can set a timer for 3 minutes and spend 3 minutes thinking about this day ahead. Okay. And instead of going down those worry pathways, think about things turning out better than you ever expected them to. And to add extra power to it, you say, thank you, thank you, thank you. So, for instance, and this is just a small example, let's say today I got up and I, had a really nice coffee and it was relaxing. So I say, thank you for my nice, relaxing coffee. Then I have this interview. And instead of worrying about this interview, I say, thank you that I rocked this interview. Because there's just as good of a chance that I bomb it and I rock it. So if I'm in that space of thinking positively about it, two things are going to happen. One, there is a better energy around me coming into this interview, and that will make it go better. And two, I am strengthening the calm and happy parts of my mind every time I have these thoughts. So for 3 minutes, I go through my entire day. I'm then going to a book club who has read and is going to give me their feedback on my book. So thank you that the book club loves my book. Thank you. Instead of worrying, oh my gosh, what if they think it's terrible or hate it, because we're all human and we can go down those paths. So you take the whole day ahead and you do that. For 3 minutes, you start your day on the right track, literally in your mind, from the moment your feet hit the floor. And your day flows so much better from there, because again, I'm not perfect. I don't do this every single day. Maybe I wake up late or I miss my alarm or something happens and I don't do that 3 minutes. And I notice, and other people have told me too, notice such a difference when they actually set their day up on the right track.
So I'm a Mel Robbins junkie. Like I am, like she is. I absolutely love this gal. And she talks a lot about what you're talking about, and I'm finding this amongst successful women. And I'm not talking just money, folks, because I do not believe that money. I do believe that money helps. Absolutely. I'm not going to say that. But I do not believe that money is the definition of success. I just, it's
Agree.
just not. I just don't think that's the defining, all-encompassing thing, to gauge success. But I'm finding that this is a really common, common ground amongst successful women is that they do set their day right. Um, do you use any tools? Do you have a journal? Do you look in a mirror? Like, do you speak to your cat or dog about this? Do you have a touchstone? Is there anything that you're doing in the physical space that's helping to realign the mental and emotional space?
Yes, sometimes I do journal it, but I find that with journaling it, I miss out on some of the visualization that I get to have, because when you journal or you do a gratitude journal and you keep that, and I'm not trying to knock gratitude journals, but I tried those for a very long time, and they didn't have the power to shift things for me because I'm missing out on other elements, and they can become a rote exercise after time, after a certain amount of time. So if I'm visualizing my day ahead,
Yeah.
I am bringing in not only that gratitude, but I'm bringing in the visualization element, and that can very strongly wire my mind, train my mind. I'm bringing in best possible self elements that can very strongly train my mind as well. So, and obviously positive emotions go with that, right? Because when I'm imagining things going great and when I'm grateful for it, it's like it already happened, so it helps your subconscious mind be activated to help you make these things happen during the day. And there's a lot of different levels in which this works. And I like, if you say, oh, Annie, I can't visualize, well, that's okay. Then just write it, but write details, include
Yeah.
details and make it different every day, because every single day is different. You're not going to do the same stuff every day. It's like gratitude journal, thank you for the thing, or it's for me, it wasn't enough.
Yeah, I'll be fully transparent here. I don't journal that. Like, I think actually, it's a common trait amongst I don't sit and take that time. So what I have is I have well, okay, they were wine markers. I got these really cool markers. They're whiteboard markers basically, but they're for wine. And so they had these really great pinks in them and wine glasses. And I actually have them in my bathroom and I write on my mirror.
Well,
So
and I love that. And positive affirmations can be fabulous too, right?
yeah.
That's
I
fab-
just to remind myself. And I remember my husband started in a men's group. And for the women out there, if you feel that there's all this tension, just remember that the other side is having tension too. And a lot of men are very isolated, very isolated. If you're feeling isolated, they're feeling isolated. My husband started in a men's group a few years ago, and I've seen a huge shift in him having that connectivity. But he asked one day, he goes, well, I'm supposed to write down what I'm thankful for, but bank account's empty. We're getting this new business up and running. We're just, the pandemic, we took a huge hit, our studio took a hit, all these things, right? And so I took those wine markers and I went to his side of the vanity and I wrote everything that I see from the outside of what he could be grateful for. And he looked at this and it's this like 15-point list. And sometimes I think we need to ask those around us, what do they see? Because sometimes it's that forest and trees thing,
right.
right? And
But you can
so,
but you can always, I mean, I think that's totally true, but you, like all of those things that you mentioned, you can always turn those on its head and think about what you want to happen instead, right? And
yes,
you do have to do
visualize it, walk it out.
100%, because there's such power in that. Because you
Yep.
are visualizing anyway. If you're imagining all these worst case scenario things coming to fruition, you're visualizing those, right?
Yep.
And we all know how to do that. So flip it. And I know that it takes effort and I know that it takes concentration, but that is the whole point, is that I want to, and I was going to say, oh gosh, one more element of this morning exercise is with the visualizing. Imagine specific things happening, i.e., like this book club that I have today. I imagine different people coming up to me and giving me compliments that I want to hear, and then being grateful for hearing that. And this all might sound cheesy, but it's actually
Yeah,
not. It's actually very powerful for your mind.
absolutely. Knowing, what does it taste like? How does it feel? What is it going to be like when that person shakes your hand or says, I want to give you a hug?
What am I
Visualize or
wearing?
feel.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Am I in a
There's,
room? Am I in a living room? Because the more that you imagine about it, the more real it becomes for your subconscious mind. And that's why I like the thank you, and I like the triple thank you. There's magic in this triple thank you, that can really tell your mind this is what's happening.
yeah. And actually, the threes, anything in threes is actually, um, you look at staging, home staging. I want to bring in my real estate, home staging, clusters of three. Three things sitting on a coffee table, three things sitting in the kitchen. Three has it's this confirmation, this memory, this it is. That's well, do it when I open my show, hello, 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 and
There you
welcome
go.
back, and it does, it has energy, it's putting that into the threes and
Well, and
something about
two,
the triangle, right?
that's right. And two, people are at all spiritual, it also kind of calls in that help a bit, to make that happen. And we don't have to go there, but it's all these different levels that this exercise is helping you have a better day.
And nothing happens without exercise. It's actually, especially a size 8 for me.
Right?
Yeah, yeah. So I want to go into I want to talk about, so I want to go back a little bit as to that moment of resiliency. So, you talked about in 2019, nearly losing your relationship, losing your own personal relationship with yourself, with your partner, losing the relationship permanently with your father. I mean, these are huge losses. This is constant loss, right? Let's talk about resiliency. What was, when you looked internally and you took that moment, what did that look like inside you? That piece that you were able to pull on to say, whoa, whoa, Annie, this is not the life that was envisioned for me. This is not the life that's been laid out for me. What did that look like?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. At first, my critic came in and said, "How how could you screw this up this much?" And sometimes my inner critic fuels me, and sometimes it just makes me sad. But in that moment, it fueled me, and I said to myself, just what you said. Um, I don't want to live like this. How? And I think there's such power in us asking ourselves questions. How can I not be this way anymore? And I had to actually sit with that question because I had a huge block telling me that I didn't need the stuff that I had come up with. Because how could I need this? Me? I'm the one who knows about stress. I treat people for stress and anxiety. And it took me a minute to get to the conclusion that I needed to try. I mean, there was no harm in trying, and my patients had told me that it worked. So I had nothing to lose. And I'm a kind of person who does, I mean, self improvement is never ending. Um, Sometimes my husband finds that a little bit exhausting about me, and I get it. He's from Australia, and they're not like the American,
Yeah, I
always
get it.
trying to be better, So
I get it. And you married an Aussie. That's awesome. How long have you guys been together?
We've been together 12 years.
Very cool. Yeah. Aussies are so cool. They are like, they no fear. But I mean, when you have like spider, like everything around you can kill you in Australia. So I think it's just, I think that's why they have wicked sense of humor. It's like I haven't met an Aussie yet that isn't just like got that sharp edge of humor. They're just like super funny. So
And they're
uh,
such nice people. They're just good people.
absolutely. I don't think they have time to be anything but because, like I said, everything can kill you.
Yeah.
Even the things that look cute can kill you in Australia. Um, let's go. I want to go into your book real quick. First of all, where can people find it? Um, and then what is the takeaway for the reader? Like, what can they expect? Not the takeaway. What can a reader expect from your book?
Um, they can expect to understand the science. I explain the science, but I do it in a simple way. I was very careful to keep it simple and entertaining, which took a lot. And it all, of course, I had an editor help me with that too. So they will understand why this works so well. Then they will get a chapter on making this a habit. Um, then they'll get a 6-step method over a 6-week period. You get new tools every week. You start with 3 minutes twice a day. You work up to 8 minutes twice a day. And it's very detailed in what you need to do every single day. And they can expect by the end of the 6 weeks to feel better. Now, it depends on where they want to go and where they started, whether or not they're going to want to continue after that 6 weeks with 8 minutes twice a day. Because what I say is, if you're like me and you start from a tough spot, it took me 3 months to really, really feel solid again. But my brain had got to a very stress and worry dominated place. So, and I would say keep this book available because you can go back to these tools. And I'm not just trying to, you know, have people buy. I just want to help them because I know what it's like to be there. And you asked me where people can get it. They can get it on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and IndieBound and Audible and iBooks. And if your bookstore doesn't have them, have it, bug them to get it. So
Audible too. Good on you. Here's a stat because people, I love my stats. Less than 10% of all books actually become an Audible book, and it's actually one of our most underserved markets because um, vision impairment it's very real,
mm,
and so yeah, and then just the simplicity of Audible. I'll be unless I can do a Blinkist with it and get the short cliff notes, it's got to be Audible for me. I mean, I've listened to every book. I've listened to every book that I've read, and if you're listening to this, I'm doing air quotes. Every book that I've read has been an Audible over the last few years. It's just how I roll. So, that's a big feat. Is just getting your book into Audible, which is awesome. Um, let's go through your socials. I want to know where can people find you, follow you, and access you.
I am on Facebook, Dr. Annie White, Dr. Annie White. I am on Instagram, same thing. Twitter, Dr. Annie White. Um, I did YouTube, Dr. Annie White. I have it's a new Twitter account that I'm just doing little tips that people can use every day. So that's Dr. Annie White. I try to keep it all the same. My website is doctor.anniewhite.com. And on there, you can find some free visualizations, free meditations. If anyone's interested in downloading a chapter, they can download a chapter for free. So I try to have a lot of resources for people.
Absolutely, because those resources will allow people a safe way to engage. Not everybody wants to admit that there's challenges going on in the world. But you know what, folks? Listen and lean in. Listen and lean in because there's always something out there that can help, and it's like that opens the door just that wee bit, and that's totally cool. Take the steps you need. So, and I love the fact that you have all those free resources. There's
Well, I
that's
want
awesome.
help. Do you know? I'm sure you're like that too because you have your fabulous podcast and your every single episode that you help people. People walk away with tips they can use. People walk away with amazing information. I have loved every episode that I've listened to and I've learned from every episode and used information. So I think you have
Yeah,
the same
absolutely.
desire. Yeah.
Absolutely. I want somebody to take away an actionable step, something that they can do today to make their life just a
Well,
little
can we
bit
do
better.
we have time to give one more actionable step?
Absolutely. Absolutely. One more
Okay,
actionable step.
I'll be super quick with this, okay? But there are so many breathing techniques out there. But this is a three-step one. It is different, and I want people to use this every time they start to feel stressed. And when you start to feel stressed because your breaths become shorter, they become quicker and closer together and more shallow, right? In those moments, three steps. First step, I want you to say to yourself the whole time you're doing this breathing exercise, I am safe. I'm not in a life or death situation right now because your mind can't fight against that. So it will start to calm down. Second step, put your left hand on your lower belly. And as you breathe in, feel your lower belly go out toward the opposite wall. I am safe. I am not in a life or death situation right now. Now, step three is super powered. So you take your right index finger, and right side is key, and you cover your right nostril. You do this breathing exercise, all three steps, as you breathe in and out only through your left nostril. Scientific studies have shown breathing in and out only through your left nostril activates your calm or parasympathetic nervous system and it calms you down faster. And a little bit of a cheeky name for this exercise so people can remember it is pick your nose the right way for stress because it sort of looks like you're picking your nose, right?
But if you're stuffed up, you know what, folks? It's
Oh,
okay.
right. Yes, of
Yeah.
course. And if you can't do the cover the nostril, even just telling yourself in those moments, I am safe. I'm not in a life or death situation while breathing down deeply into that lower belly, you will
Yeah.
really strongly tell your body, you don't need to run from any woolly mammoth right now. There's nothing crazy happening. You know, it'll calm that stress down.
And every strategy we can have for dealing with stress right now is, I think, critical. And find something that works for you.
Mm.
Absolutely, absolutely. I know that in Lamaze, I don't know if you've had kids. That's one of the things they teach is that whole breathing technique, so you can take control of the pain. So we're talking
Right.
about physical pain. So absolutely, and that is funny. So pick your nose. That is hilarious. I
Pick your
know.
nose the right way. And
Right
I say
way,
the right way because the right side.
right side. That's
And
hilarious.
and it's the right way because you're not really picking your nose.
Yeah, we don't want that.
And some of our
We
mothers
don't
and
want that.
some
What's
of
a
our
what's a quote that inspires you?
there is no try, only do. And Yoda. But that keeps me it's kept me going. It's kept me going, because not every day is easy. Not every day is exactly successful or the exact way I want it to go, is it? But there is no try. I'm not just going to try. I am going to do. And
Yeah,
another one is she said she could, so she did.
I love that one. I
Yeah.
love that one.
It's true.
It is so true. I had for years, and then I gifted it to a gal who needed it. I had a quote. I had a sign that says, um, uh, "Be the kind of something like be the kind of woman that when you wake up, your feet hit the ground, the devil goes, oh no, she's up." And it's like nobody's going to save you. Nobody's going to do it for you. You have to do it for yourself. So align yourself with these strategies, techniques, these, women like Dr. Annie that are here to serve so you can live your best life. Because I promise you, you were put on this earth to live your best life. and whatever that looks like. And please, please, I'm not talking about everybody's got Prada and Gucci and a $250,000 car. I'm talking about the life that leaves a legacy, the
Well,
life that impacts.
and vibrating at our highest frequency, right? That's
Yep.
our job here.
Absolutely. Dr. Annie, thank you so much for your time today. You have such an amazing energy and smile. You have a beautiful smile, and it's just
Back
it's
at ya.
I can see why people like to be around. And your book signing, and I think it's going to be a book signing today. I don't think it's just a book reading. I think people are going to be asking you to
Oh,
sign their books. Your book signing is going to be amazing today. And you know what, folks? That's it for Kim Talks Resilience today. I'm Kim Hayden, your host. And if you ever feel that your resiliency is lagging, please listen and lean into our resilient community here. I want you to go and grab your resilient gift at resilientgift.com. That's RESILIENT gift.com. Go there, sign up. I'm not going to pepper you daily with emails or anything like that. I'm not going to ask you for a credit card. What I am going to do is send you our bi-monthly magazine. I'm going to give you recaps of all these amazing conversations. And you know what? I'm just going to be present. Listen and lean in, because you deserve the best life ever. So until next time, I'm Kim Hayden. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for joining us here today at Kim Talks Resilience. I'm your host, Kim Hayden, and I'd love to invite you to our resilient community at resilientgift.com. That's resilientgift.com, and we'll send you our magazine and tickets for upcoming events and all sorts of cool things we do here. So be sure to keep watching, and you know what? Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share, because we all know that sharing is caring.